Today, I'm going to be talking about my design decisions in my mini lesson that I created for one of my LDT classes. I wanted to start off in the teacher view in Canvas because one of the decisions I was looking at when I was designing this mini lesson was to have different indentations and also having different aspects of the assignments that students would need to create. And I wanted to show you what this looked like. The first thing I wanted to do was make sure to welcome my classmates. So this was essentially a mini lesson, so something that they had never done before. So having a welcome to the class. And then you'll notice that within the lesson, we have different indentations so that when they visually see it, they're going to notice that there's specific pages and specific discussions that they will need to complete, and it's a little bit more visually appealing. And then lastly, we have the feedback. Another thing that I chose to do was have items that they needed to complete to mark them done. This helps not only the students to know where they're at with the module, to know which parts and sections they've been able to complete, but also it helps the designer be aware, or the teacher be aware of which students are progressing or how they're progressing through the unit. And so this was done very intentionally. You can see if we go into the student view for this specific mini lesson, you'll notice that there's these different boxes or different circles that will mark as done as we go throughout the unit. So let's go ahead and check out these different pages now. So students would come in here and they would hopefully start by clicking on the welcome. The welcome is hopefully there to kind of sense, like give them an idea of, hey, this is me, this is who I am, give me a little bit of background so that they can hopefully relate and connect to me as a teacher. And so then I also have an image of my children that are not popping up, but it would be there. And then if they continue to click on next, they'll notice that each different part has a little section that's up at the top. So if it's a page, they can mark as done, meaning that they have completed the specific page, that they've actually read through the page and done that. And then that way I can kind of see how far they're going, and they can also check their progress as well. So within this specific lesson, this mini lesson, what I wanted to do design-wise is I wanted to have a point where everyone felt that they could jump in. The main goal of this lesson was to talk about scatter plots and how scatter plots are used in a business model. And so this first part just talks about business models in general, and it references the two different companies, Kmart and Walmart. And so everyone kind of has probably either been inside a Walmart or been inside a Kmart. And so this is something where everyone can kind of jump in and say, hey, I know what they're talking about here. I kind of understand what's going on. And so they are able to read a short context and then watch a short video, and then they can see what the objectives are for this lesson. So they're going to graph data in a scatter plot using Desmos, and then they're going to interpret trends for a scatter plot and then identify whether there's causation given a scatter plot or two variables. So the objectives you can see are clearly mathematical in nature, but this entry point is open to all. And so again, they can just continue to click on the next. The next part is some information about scatter plots, and it's done in a page versus a link because I think that at a high school setting, it's easier for students to have less links and less places to go. If everything's located in one location, then it's easier for them to visually see it. Also, my students have a lot of connection issues, and so this prevents them from having to jump from website to website. Again, any pages you'll notice that have mark as done so that they have said that they've read all of this information, and you'll notice that there are a lot of visuals as well. After they get some information with scatterplots, then they actually get practice with scatterplots through a Desmos activity. This one they do go outside of the page because they are going to be going into an additional app called Desmos. So they would click here and it would jump them into the Desmos activity. And you would want to, of course, sign in with Google, and you can start building the scatter plots. And again, I will just show you really briefly what that kind of looks like for them on their end. So Desmos is another great tool and application, and what's really nice about it is that you can see previous students' responses as you're walking through it. So if it's something that you just feel uncomfortable with, you're not really sure the answer, you can kind of see what answers other students have done. You'll notice that there are different amount of slides, so you are on 1 of 15, and you can just go ahead and essentially answer these questions as you go through, and it's very interactive. And so, again, I wanted something design wise where they actually were kind of playing with the material and really kind of creating. So they're almost building their own artifact that they can kind of go back to and see their progression in and kind of see where they're headed to. And you'll notice that it continues to go through this way where there's different contexts where they have to answer different questions, analyze different graphs, and kind of learn a little bit more in regards to scatter plots. Oops. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into the design my Canvas module, but I did want to mention that at the very end, also what's really great is they do have a create your own, so it's an opportunity to, excuse me, advance their knowledge of their Desmos capabilities and kind of go back with that. So we're gonna again hop back into their activity. So once they're done with the activity, they can click as mark as done. And it does note that if you log into Google, the progress will be saved as well. So again, I just want you to kind of visually see this. So I'm going to not mark this as done so you can kind of see what it looks like on the other end. But another kind of entry point here, it's a TED Talk, something that is simplistic in nature where it's not something super abstract. So a lot of entry points that students can come in and relate to. Design-wise, I tried to include a lot of media as well because students tend to relate to media. They don't like as much reading. We included a lot of discussions so that they're able to discuss with other high school students because, again, this is an online setting. Also, they're given a lot of choice. So you'll notice in the discussion they only have to choose one, but they can choose an additional one for extra credit if they'd like. And you'll notice that design-wise, the replies are only visible after they've posted. And the reason for that is I don't want students to just, again, be choosing the same situation as before or as another student and just copy their answer. But I want them to be reflective on what they've learned. Again, here's another opportunity, multiple different entry points that they can look at in regards to failed products and how that relates. And so again, it's something that's outside of the scatterplots knowledge, but then it's going to come back and relate to how is the failed product related to scatterplots and causation, and how does that work? I also design-wise wanted to include rubrics anytime that I am looking at something a little bit more analytically. And then this one also I allowed them to see other students' posts so that they could see what other students kind of created or answered in regards to their failed product. And then design-wise, I wanted them to have the capability to respond back to other students so that they could have the opportunity to collaborate. And then lastly, at the very end, I have kind of like a want more. So if students are like, oh, you know what, I think I really learned a lot about scatter plots. I'd really like to learn more. They have different websites, different articles, different links that they could go to. They could watch an additional video to learn more. And then lastly, since this was a mini lesson and I wanted their feedback, I wanted to wrap up and summarize what they should have learned and then give their feedback for, you know, how they liked the lesson, which was really helpful for me. And so if you went back to the modules page, you would notice on your end these check marks. And so like students could see how far they progressed throughout the unit, which is really helpful. And then on the student or teacher end, you would also be able to see how far they've gone. So you can see kind of what they need. So overall, I really enjoyed this mini lesson. I think it really helped me kind of get a good grasp of Canvas, which is our new platform, LMS platform. And so it really helped me kind of see what the different capabilities were. It helped me also place a content within students' hands. I wanted them to be able to do this very asynchronously without my guidance. And so they could kind of go through this throughout the lesson and continuously learn more. And so there's opportunities for them to learn within the LMS, but also opportunities for them to go outside. So not only are they learning within their, say brick and mortar room, they're also learning outside of the classroom where they can kind of go above and beyond. And so that's kind of going back to my mobile technologies LDT class, where everything, if learning is constant, we want to make sure that they have the capabilities to learn, whether it be in the classroom, but also outside the classroom, so that we can embed and build lifelong learners in our students. So I hope that you enjoyed this mini lesson that I designed. This was one of, again, my favorite projects that we did within the LDT community. And I hope that the explanation of the different design elements that I have in here was intriguing to you, and you would use this if you ever had to design again too.